Hey you guys, insight number 5, last one for the week. We're still in Genesis 41 and we're just going to finish up at looking at the food storage problem that they had, because there was going to be, as you know, if you've done the reading, which hopefully you have, there's going to be 7 years of awesome growing of crops and then 7 years of famine. So, famine being no food and no water and horrible times. And right now, through COVID, we're kind of having a weird famine where there is food, if you can afford it and find it. So it's available. It's not like there's none, but some families are experiencing none because the cost of it is simply out of their budget. So it's a type of famine, and there's certainly things that we cannot get in different countries because they come from other countries and there's shipping issues. So we simply cannot get them, and we've had to make do with what we've got, which is why at the end of it, the quote I've included is something that President Hinckley said a lot that I really love, because that's kind of how I was brought up too. So if we look at verses 47 to 49, they read, "And in the 7 plenteous years the earth brought forth by handfuls," like just so much grain. "And he gathered up all the food of the 7 years which were in the land of Egypt, and laid up the food in the cities, the food of the field, which was round about every city, laid he up in the same. And Joseph gathered corn as the sand of the sea, very much, until he left numbering, for it was without number." And he didn't just put it all in one place, he put it in the cities where it was closest to, and there was probably numerous cities. And he was in charge of all of this, the boss of it all. He was telling people what to do. So essentially he's kind of a free man at this point. Which is kind of awesome, really. This is how the Lord had protected him, because he remained faithful. And then over to 54 and 55. "And the 7 years of dearth began to come." So the 7 years of famine and, without. "According as Joseph had said, and the dearth was in all the lands, but in all the land of Egypt there was bread. And when all the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. And Pharaoh said unto all the Egyptians, Go unto Joseph, what he saith to you, do." So this is Pharaoh, the king, the boss of the entire of Egypt, saying, "Oh, you're having this problem? Go unto Joseph, and whatever he tells you to do, you do it." It's pretty cool, right? So, how are you preparing for possible hardship? I just love that, how Pharaoh says, go to Joseph and do what he's telling you to do. That's how much he trusted him. That's how much he valued his opinion and was very grateful for the way he saved the people. I think this Pharaoh would be one of those ones that you would call a good Pharaoh, because he cared about the people. He wasn't all just about being fabulous and having gold temples made after him. Probably a little bit of that too, but I think he really did care about the people, because he really did want to save them, and he was concerned, as you can read there. So, how are you preparing for possible hardship? This is food storage on an epic scale we read about here that saved millions of people. We have been counselled for generations to prepare. President Hinckley often spoke of this teaching, asked that even a little put aside will make a difference, and to live within our means. For example, don't spend more than you make. He often said, if you have to get into debt, pay it off as quick as you can. And really the only things you should be getting into debt for are a house, probably, maybe even a car. Really anything else you could probably go without, or figure out a different way to do it. I was talking yesterday with my friend Yvonne just about the hustle, and that, you've got to teach your kids, if you want something, you've got to work for it. You don't just get it, you've got to work for it and hustle. And no, I'm not meeting you halfway. If you want that thing, you've got to earn all of it. And just talking about how to do that and teaching our kids to do that. Because my generation knows how to do that, because my grandparents taught me how, because they lived through the Depression. And as much as that can be a bit of a family joke with, we can't have that, we lived through the Depression, I'm not going to buy the fancy jam, I'm going to buy the budget jam because, money is tight. And it's like, money's not tight right now, we can have the fancy jam. It's a lot nicer, it's probably less sugar, it's got more fruit in it. So, just those kind of things. Rambling here. Living in those circumstances, my grandparents, especially my grandmother, was very, very worried about never having enough. And it is something that I've had times in my life too where I haven't had enough. So to me, like, having enough is abundance. And we certainly right now do have enough. But we need to prepare. Even a little bit set aside, and don't get into debt. We're in a very good position right now with all this financial crisis. And I know people that are losing their homes because they've, thought, oh yeah, we're going to have jobs and we can pay it off and blah, blah. Yeah, cool. And they haven't really thought long term about what if one of us loses a job? What if one of us gets sick and is sick for longer than our sick leave, and then we don't have an income? So we might still have our job, but we're sick and we're on sick leave for 6 months maybe. Got to think about it and prepare. So anyway, President Nelson counsels often to prepare physically, spiritually, and mentally. This will be the only way to survive these last days. So how are you preparing, and what can you do? Because even a little bit is going to make a difference. When I talk to people, I'm like, even a backpack with a bottle of water, a couple of muesli bars, or something to eat in it, even a change of pants or a change of underwear, or like something, in a bag, is going to be a start. It's a difference. And you just add to that. Add some Band-Aids to it. Add some Panadol to it, some paracetamol to it. You don't know. Like, we've got a COVID preparedness kit should we get COVID. We've got medicines in that box specifically for that. I would hope that that doesn't happen for a while, or that if it does happen, that it's very mild. I would like to not happen at all, but, realistic as well. So we've been told to prepare, and I'm a great preparer because I've lived with nothing. But there's a lot of people who don't, and it's like, would you just do something? Just get a bag. You don't have a backpack? Have you got a plastic bag? Have you got one of them reusable supermarket bags? Sure you got something that you can put a bottle of water, some paracetamol, and like a change of pants in or something, or an extra top that you don't wear that often, and you can put in there. It's something. So if you had to evacuate your home because of a disaster, or suddenly you have nothing, you at least have something set aside. And that's the difference. And as far as prepare, like President Nelson says, to prepare physically, that's preparing physically. It's also keeping ourselves as healthy as we can be, spiritually and mentally as well, as healthy as we can be, because it's how we're going to survive. We've got to embrace Jesus Christ and really live through the Holy Ghost, live in our covenants, walk that path. That is the only way we're going to survive these horrible, horrible times. But yeah, often emphasized by Gordon B. Hinckley, but I don't know who originally said it, but he does say this a lot in his talks and in his trainings when he gave them, is use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. And I love that. So use it up, wear it out, make it work, really, or just find another way. We become self-reliant as we learn to love work, as we seek inspiration to find the best ways to provide for ourselves, and as we work with family members to meet basic needs. That's the self-reliance we need. How are you preparing? What are you doing? I hope you're doing something. Well, that's us for this week. We're going to see next week where Joseph's brothers that sold him off come into Egypt begging for food because they're starving. And oh my gosh, who do they see? Oh, it's Joseph, no. But Joseph's totally forgiving because he is actually a really good guy. So we're going to read about that and find some really awesome lessons from that. Stay safe out there. I love you guys. Thank you for joining me this week, and I will see you next week. See you there. Bye. Mwah.